Thank you, thank you. I'm happy to see so many people that actually came to my session instead of in their hotel rooms getting all decked out for the party, but thank you. All right, now, for myself, a little bit more about me. I've been at the Alamo colleges, specifically at St. Philip's College, for 6 years, going into year 7. I have taught online, but at least for the last about 4 years, I've pretty much been doing web enhancing of face-to-face courses. Predominantly because, as many of you that teach online, let's see, does anybody teach online in the room, by chance, maybe? I personally feel that teaching online takes a lot more of my time than it does for face-to-face. That just seems to be the way it is, and I don't want to offer a product for our college and my students unless I can get it the way I want it. So my web enhancing abilities are kind of leading to maybe teaching more online. Now, is this our advancer, or is it supposed to be? Or do I just need to use my PC? Used to be. We'll just put that there. Technology, gotta love it when it doesn't work. All right, now, if you've been to any of the presentations from any of my colleagues at Northwest Vista, at Palo Alto College, at San Antonio College, or St. Philip's College, you probably know a little bit about us, but if you haven't been to one of our presentations, a little background. We are located in San Antonio, though I'm not a huge sports fan. Those in the audience, go Spurs, go. Yep, and then Cheryl, thank you. We are 5 separately accredited. Well, 4 of our colleges are currently accredited. 1 of them is undergoing accreditation. And 2 of our colleges are actually undergoing our reaffirmation for our reaccreditation. So we have approximately, this data I believe is from fall of 2013, about 63,000 students spread across our 5 campuses. And the Alamo Colleges is moving towards systemization or streamlining all of our online content so that way students get a consistent experience across all 5 colleges no matter who they're taking the course from, or at least have set best practices in place so the students will be up to snuff and they'll be ready to go. Now, students and evaluating them, most of the time when you are evaluating students, at least when the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, our Board of Trustees, our college administration, what do they look toward to say, you did well, your students did well? Well, most of the time they're looking at our productive grade rate, they're looking at our completion rate, they're looking at our retention rate. But when do we measure all of those things? After the course is done. And you can say, oh, well, we did well, good job. Oh, well, you did horribly. Why did you do good? What was good about it? What was bad about it? And what can you improve? Also, we often look at our student learning outcomes, trying to see have our students achieved the necessary material to actually say they got it, they understand it, they can process it. We also, of course, have our own self-evaluations of our instruction, our chairs evaluate our instruction, and of course our students submit, hopefully, if we badger them enough and hit them over the head enough and say, please fill out your class climate surveys for your faculty. But one important tool that I've been using in the last several years is course analytics. Now, the problem is, again, if we're using information only after the course is complete, it's not really helping your students to get ahead and be successful in their course. So unless you can predict the future or time travel, you need something on the fly helping you as you go. Now, most of the major LMSs have built-in analytics of varying degrees. Some will have certain functionalities, others will not. And I would say these are kind of the top guys. Now, of course, where's Canvas? At the top. Now, Blackboard, Moodle, Desire to Learn, all the others. And also, there are third-party vendors like Aspire EDU that will actually have analytic tools which you can bring into your LMS if it doesn't have it or if you want to augment it. But whose analytics am I going to talk about? Blackboard? No. We're going to talk about Canvas Analytics. Now, analytics is structured, at least from my purview. I don't know if there's, for any admins in the room that have experience with all of this, there's probably a lot more nitty-gritty. Corey, is there anything else that I should be talking about? Oh, Tracy. I'll talk to Tracy later. But your analytics are separated into different strata, basically. I have the course level and the student level analytics listed first, and then the admin. I'm going to talk specifically about the course level and also the student level analytics, and I'm going to kind of gloss over the admin analytics. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I'm doing something that I always tell my students not to do. I'm putting something in my PowerPoint that I don't really know too much about. So just be forewarned, don't ask me about it. Or I'll direct you to the right person if you really want to ask me about it. We're going to talk about how they're structured, what you're going to see, and what information you can derive. And then after we talk about all of that, we're going to talk about some future directions and some of my own feature requests that I've submitted. And then maybe when we open up to question and answer, maybe we can get a few of ours together and direct them to the people at the back of the room with Instructure t-shirts on. Now, since this particular feature of Canvas involves live student data, I cannot actually go into the live environment and do a live demo for you. So what I have done is several screen captures and videos showing you kind of where you go one-stop shopping. Now, has anyone ever used Canvas Course Analytics? Good, some people, yes. So you're going to help me out when I have problems, right? Okay. Now, to get to your Canvas Analytics, on your dashboard, when you first log into the environment, you got to select a course. See, I kind of timed this to go along with it. A little quicker, Chris. Okay. And on the far right-hand navigation, and you have a View Course Analytics button. You click it. Sorry. Now, that was very quick, and that was, of course, a live screen grab from my Mac, but sometimes analytics will take a few seconds, or a minute or two, to load, depending on the size of your courses. Now, my courses, I'm lucky, I teach at a community college. My classes are kept in check in size by lab space. I can only have 24 students per section of my courses. Does anybody teach courses 150, 250, 300 people? No? They're all getting, oh, wait. Oh, your hand wasn't up. I didn't see the nod. Everybody else was pointing at her, but I didn't see it. Now, the analytics dashboard, as you can see, is broken up into several groups, and we're going to go through each specific one, and I'm going to tell you a little about what I look for, or what I look to see what is it telling me, because you can throw data at somebody forever, but if they don't know what they're looking for, how to interpret it, it's not that great. It's not that good. Now, all of the analytics have something which I think is fairly nice. If, come on, machine. No, go back. If you hover over any part of the analytics for the most part, you'll get more information spout out at you. One, for this one, you're getting information like when that particular analytic was actually recorded. And in the activity monitor, which is the very top of the analytics, you're looking at all the page views and all the participations of your students per given day of that course. Now, this course was a 16-week course, so my bars are kind of really small and skinny. If we actually looked at either the test environment or my current summer courses, since it's only a 5-week course, the bars are much wider. So if you're going to have an extremely long course, like if it's, I don't know of any courses that go longer than 16 weeks, but if you had a course that went for 52 weeks, your stuff's going to be compressed down. You might want to get a really wide screen monitor and kind of space it out a little bit. But the information that you get here, as I said, you're looking at course page views. So how many times are the students looking at the content you provided, looking at the links that you provided? And student participation, things like taking a quiz, submitting an assessment. What else? Posting to a discussion board. So basically, anything that they do, knock on wood, because that's changed several times, but most anything they do where they actually have to submit something, press enter, click OK, it's going to record it. Now, one thing that a colleague of mine brought up, and I agree, is that if you're looking at page views, because you want to see activity in your course, or people actually actively participating, if one person looks at 120 pages, and each of those 120 pages 10 times, what's going to happen to your analytics? It's going to go shooting off the charts. So again, this is aggregated data for your entire course. The entire section is in here. So if you want to actually get more specific information, we're going to have to drill down, and we'll get to that. So basically, I have my 2 little photos at the bottom. Can anybody actually see them in the back? Basically, I have a computer lab with no one in it, and a computer lab that's completely full. No, it's standing room only, like the sessions yesterday morning. You want to have your students at their PCs, at their Macs, on their iPads. You want them actively participating in your course, not crickets chirping in an empty room with dust collecting on the keyboards. The next section of analytics is course assignment summary. Basically, now, does this look bad to you? Do you see, everyone see red? When I first started using analytics, one thing I had to teach myself is red is not necessarily bad. These bars are indicating students that have submitted assignments on time, late, or missed them. Green is indicating that they did it on time, on or before. Late, they submitted, of course, after the assignment due date, but before it cut off. And red, the availability date ended and they can't get at the assignment anymore. So how are we doing up on our top display? Did my students did they just say, oh, I give up, his class is too hard, I don't want to do this anymore? Well, you have to take into account the fact that you have online submissions, on-paper submissions, or when you make an assignment, does anyone ever put no submission? No submissions, if you pass the due date and you haven't manually entered grades, that's what you see. I use the analytics not to just check my students, I also check myself. The red indicates to me that either students didn't do it, so I have to check and see what assignment was. Was it something they did themselves and submitted? Or have I been resting on my laurels and not actually entering grades like I should have been? Now, and again, just like we showed with the earlier parts, if you hover over any one of the bars, it's going to tell you what percentage of your students were late, what percentage were on time, what assignment it was, and when its due date was.
Do you enter grades after the fact? Does it call it that late?
Well, the question was, if I enter grades after the due date, does it show as missing? It's not supposed to, but I have several tickets in because it sometimes does. Yeah, I mean, just like anything, it's a work in progress, and like if you have an enhancement, things might get a little bit hokey, and we'll have to fix it. But my major problems that I've had, the tickets have already been resolved, so that's a good thing. Were you stretching, or you have a question? Sorry. Okay. I saw a hand. I was like, what? What? The next section, again, we're still on the same dashboard that I brought up originally. This is actually your students' grades, the grade distributions, basically. Again, you can hover over, and it will give you, basically, what assignment it was, the high score, the median score, the low score, and what's the bottom one? Oh, the possible points. So what do I look for when I look at this particular plot of my students? Well, what's passing? For me, technically 60 is passing because they can get credit for a course with a D. They just can't use it as a prereq for another course. But most students would say, no, I need a 70 or better. So if I'm seeing the median going across, actually, I'll use the thing that doesn't work, but it does work as a laser pointer. If I'm seeing, because we have 100, we have 80, 60, 40, and going on down. If I'm seeing my average hovering in this region around 80, I'm happy. If I see something like this one starting to dip down below 80, I might look at that assignment. Was it the students didn't submit it? Because if you have zeros in your averages, that's going to bring you down. And again, this is just showing you blanket data for your course. You have to then go in and see what's going on. And finally, the last section of the dashboard is the student summary. Now you notice that I've redacted some of my students' names, all of them. And what is it showing us? It's showing their individual page views, participations, their assignments turned in, and their current course average. So the aggregate data that was all up above is summarized per student below. And I tried to show it. If you hover over any of the page views, the participations, the assignments, it will tell you the actual numerical data behind the bar graphs. Okay. Now this is my test environment, so we don't have to worry too much about it. Because you want to be able to go from the global level of your course down to your specific students. This Chris Davis guy, he's got a D, there's a problem. He should drop. This is my test student. I really know the answers to the questions I give my students. But to get down to a specific student, you scroll down to the student summary information and click an individual student. I'm going to use one that actually has real information from a given semester. This is one of my better students, so if you're going to show one, show the best. Now, so and it is, without violating FRIPA, it is a young lady. Her activity, how's she doing? least to those of you in the front that can actually maybe see those numbers. Is she participating regularly? Fairly regularly. There's some gaps, but she doesn't disappear for 3 weeks and then suddenly show back up. Now, unlike the graphics we looked at in the course level analytics, this is her own specific information, her page views and her participations. Again, you can hover over and see how many she did on that particular day. But let's compare a few students. Who do you think in this grouping had the highest grade at the end of the term? I'm hearing the bottom one. Actually, you're right. Now, what's wrong with the person up at the top? Yeah, notice the scales. The one at the top goes from 0 to 50 to 100. So they had less than 50 participations or page views for pretty much the entire semester up until when? Now, that's not the final exam date, by the way. That's like that's their last test before drop date. So suddenly they're doing a lot more stuff right before they're like, oh, crap. The next one, again, the scale's even different because we have 0, 20, and 40. So we don't even peak out at 50 at that last metric that's actually marked. They have very sporadic participation. These are the students that I would then go into the inbox, or what are we calling it now? Is it still the inbox? Whatever we call it. I'll call it the inbox still. You send a message to them. You go into the gradebook and say, students who are doing poorly at this particular assignment, send them a message to keep in constant communication to kind of nudge them, saying, if you're having problems, let me know. We might be able to help. Let's get on this. The second part of the student information section is the communication summary. Communications, we'll call it communications now. And basically, it's showing both my communications to the students as well as their responses back to me. So the orange is indicating, the little orange speech bubble, is a student communication. The blue, that from me. Now, the person at the top, they have 3 messages to me, but how many did I send to them? I sent out quite a few, didn't I? But this is also showing messages that I sent out as a blast email to everyone. So like if I send out a message saying, hey, everybody, don't forget about the test next week, that's going to show up. Does a student need to respond to me from that message saying, don't forget about the test? I get them, though. Thanks, Dr. Davis. I'm ready for the test. Don't worry. At least I know they're there. But they don't need to respond to me about that. Person in the middle, what's going on? There's some active communication going between myself and my student. Now, if I look at a student summary and I see a lot of orange bubbles from them, but no blue bubbles from me, that could indicate what? Oops, I didn't check my email. Oops, sorry. But it could also mean that maybe, since I told you I'm teaching face-to-face enhanced courses, I might see them the next day and say, oh, that email you sent me, don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about that assignment. It's due next week. You're fine. Or they might have called me on the phone, or they might have sent me a message outside an email. So again, don't look at it and go, oh my God, there's something wrong. There might not be anything wrong. And then what's going on with student number 3? They don't like me, or they don't like sending messages, one of the two, I'm not sure. The next section of the student area is the assignment summary. It's showing me a graphical representation from the beginning of the course to the end of when my assignments are due. I use this primarily to say, am I having too many things assigned and due at the same time? Now, I know some instructors, especially if they're in an online environment, they treat their course and they say, all right, the course is between this date, these 16 weeks. They open everything and let the students do whatever they want as long as they get everything done before the end of the term. Does anyone in this room do that? Uh-oh, I gotta kind of, eh. But there's some structure to your course, though, and they have certain things that are due. Okay, that's good. Now, do I have too many things due at the same time? Well, I have 3 things due at one time, 3 more, 3 more, 3 more, 3 more, all due at the same time. Well, every time a student, now that includes my actual in-person tests. So test day is on there. And on that day, they have homework and a review due. So they really have two things due on the same day, and those two things are then used to help them study for the test. So I personally don't feel it's too many things. But if you saw everything at the end of the term all in a straight line, I'd kind of look at that and say, does that really work for my students? Is it benefiting them to have all that stuff waiting to the end? And students never procrastinate, right? Never, no. So you might get the one saying, could you reopen that? Because I didn't have time in the last 12 hours of the course to do everything. No. The next section is the grade summary. Again, this is actually showing their scores and how their scores relate to the students in that section. What happened with person number 1? What do you see across there? Lots of green, and all in the A range, except, well, there was 1 or 2. The person did get an A. So at the beginning of the term, when I'm starting to see green dots all in the A range, I'm thinking pretty good, right? The student doesn't necessarily need my direct attention. I don't necessarily have to send them a message saying, how's it going? You doing okay? You need some help? What about student number 2 and number 3? We're seeing some fluctuations in student number 2. They got a green dot, doing well. They got a red dot. They're basically they went from one assignment at the top of the curve to the bottom. And they kind of have a mixture. The student in the middle, I believe, got a C. And does that kind of make sense based on what you see up there? Green, red, green, red, green, red, green, red. And then finally, the student at the bottom. This student did not pass. But again, I will look at these summaries periodically to say, how are my students doing? Because I need to, if they're not going to actively come to see me during office hours, because it never happens, I need to make sure that some type of intervention is happening on my part to say, what can I do? Are you not getting it? Can I help you? Yes, ma'am.
Why is there a red dot near the top? I mean, I can't see all the fine print, but I'm thinking that the top is 100 on the bottom. The 1, 2, 3, 4th line over.
Yeah. There's not a wide spread in the grades. So even though they may have gotten a high score, there's not a. Well, I have to go back because I need to look back at notes myself. Ben, do you want to answer the question? She wants to know, why is there a red dot when it's really high up on the line?
I don't know. I'll find out.
He'll find out. But I think Corey, it is just the spread is not very large. So like even though there's one person that has like an extremely low score, taking it down. Deviation from, yeah. Because their grade is where the dot is, but the whisker plot is showing their spread. Yeah. I hate it when I don't know the answer to a question right off the top of my head. Okay. How much more time do I have? 5 minutes. Okay, this should be okay. Analytics aren't just housed in the course analytics section of Canvas. They are everywhere. You may not know it, but they're there. One of them, quiz, your quiz statistics. This is a listing of my quizzes for this particular course. If you go into one of them, if I scroll down, keep going. I think, exam review 3, we'll look at that. Over on the far right-hand navigation bar, you have a button that says Quiz Statistics. Can you click it for me, please? Thank you. And you get more graphs. Don't we love more graphs? Now, this is an exam review. I'm looking at the aggregated data from all the students that participated in this particular review. And I'm looking at the green bars, of course, showing the correct answer, and the other bars surrounding it are showing the other answer choices and the relative number of students that actually submitted that response. Again, hover over, you get pop-ups. So 80-some-odd% of my students answered correctly, 4% answered incorrectly there, 4% over there. Did I check the last one? No, I didn't. You can also export the data of your quiz submissions to look at every single answer your students submitted for that quiz. This, of course, brings it all together and is showing you how they did. What do I look at in this to try to help my students? Is there a common misconception about one particular question or a concept area? Are they thinking, bases have a pH below 7? Yeah, that's right. No, that's not right. So I can maybe identify, and maybe next time in lecture, let's redress that particular issue. Let's go back over it a little bit. And then the last one is the interaction reports. Anyone use the interaction reports before? Basically go to your people, which we are at now, and click on a given individual in your course. Since this is my test environment, I'm the only one in there. I click on myself. The far right navigation bar, the access report. Go over there, click on it. Go on. And you see each interaction your student did. What did they participate in? What did they submit? And when did they submit it? It is, again, aggregated to that particular page or particular assignment. So it's saying the laboratory quiz number 5 was accessed 42 times. It will not tell me, unfortunately, when they actually accessed it, when they submitted it. I'd have to actually go into the grade section and see that. The information is there, but you have to go and find it. And now, as far as admin accounts for course analytics, basically this is from one of our sister colleges, San Antonio College. It is showing the number of courses for a given term, the number of instructors, students, assignments, basically general information about all the courses being offered for a particular campus. We can also look at all of the Alamo colleges, all 5 campuses. Now, I'm not going to go into the details. If you have questions later, I can go in because I don't think I have enough time. Anyone confused or lost? I hope not.
I have a question on that last admin. The slide before you showed this, could you select it at the department or program level, not just higher than the...
I believe so, but again, I don't have access, so I'm not that special. That's higher than my pay grade. I can't get there. But we can probably find out. Again, the question was, can you get departmental information, or program so for program coordinators to get information? I believe so. Yes, sir.
On that whisker plot you have for the individual student for their grades, so it seems like if you have assignments that are worth 10 points and assignments that are worth 200 points.
All of mine are worth 100 points.
So that's to make the best out of it, so you got to make them all the same. There's no way to change the vertical axis to like a percent.
That I don't know. And the question is, can you, if you're doing point values rather than percentages, can you adjust the axes? You can't actually tell it what axis to put or the gradations of it. And that's a Canvas question that maybe Ben or one of the others can maybe answer afterward. But I don't know. And let's see. Now, where do we go from here? Of course, Canvas is always changing. This is one of their roadmaps of various, and I got this, I think, at InstructureCon last year. Analytics was in here. A number of things have already been added to the analytics portion of Canvas. These are my feature requests, or at least things that I want. Student analytics. I want them to be able to see their own analytics. I want them to be able to look at and take the responsibility for their instruction and their learning and say, I'm doing bad, I need to fix it. Because maybe graphically and visually it might have more impact than me sending one email saying, you're doing poorly, let's get some, well, I'd be more politically correct than that, but consolidated reporting. And historical analytics, being able to compare my given Chem 1412 course this semester with either last semester or all of the semesters that I've been teaching it. Am I seeing trends that I can maybe investigate and maybe correct? Are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
On the, I think it was the student summary analytics,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of looked to us like those columns were sortable, are they?
Well, on the initial dashboard, when you go into analytics, when you get down to the student information, you can click on the headers to change it alphabetically. You can also do it by scores. So yes, you can sort them by numbers of participation. So maybe you want to see what group of students are kind of not participating, and then you can maybe, again, send them a communication asking them to participate, join their discussions, do their assignments. Yes, ma'am. Oh, and I'm sorry. And the question was, can you sort the columns in the student analytics? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and from the chair and student level, can they go in and see teacher interaction with the course and with the students?
The question is, can a dean, program director, or VP see an instructor's interaction? And I'm seeing a shaking head saying,
It's different. It's not through this interface.
For the account level interface, then
You could run some account level reporting and things like that.
or the other, and the other thing is you could always add your chair as an observer or as a TA in your course. I don't know if you really want to do that.
so can the administrator.
So can the administrator, yes, the admin can.
Chris,
Yes, ma'am.
when you add them, depending on what all you want them to see, if you're really looking for conversation, communication, a TA, you're not gonna see that. You've got to do them almost as a teacher or as a designer, because we've done peer evals and we were put in as a TA, and we could see quizzes, we could see all of that, but we could not see the true communication between the student and the instructor.
So my colleague Cheryl Spears from SBC has basically said, the access levels, you need to look at what's right for you, depending on what information you want to be able to access or what your program director or dean wants to access. Or apparently there might be reports that can be run also. They could always also export their conversations if they wanted to. Now, my contact information, if you have any questions, I'll be free afterward, of course. I have business cards. Please take one. I have a box of 500 of them. I don't really use them a lot. And I have to give an honorable mention to my colleague Heather Cura at San Antonio College. She and I did a similar presentation at the Instructional Technology Council's conference in Orlando in February. So we collaborated on a lot of this, and some of the analytics information on the admin level she provided for me, so thank you to her. But then again, we don't really want to remember us like that. You want to remember us as we are, that's this year, that was 80s night last year. And I didn't ask her if that was okay to use that, but she'll be okay. And you might know the other two people, at least people of Instructure might. And then, for calling all heroes, some of my colleagues and I were heroes this afternoon, at least we thought so. That's at 8,500 feet on the mountain and a 2,200-foot zip line, apparently the biggest in Utah. Corey. Where's Laura? Is Laura here? She bailed. Me. And our friend Usha, who doesn't know that you're supposed to brake when you're getting towards the end of the zip line. She's okay, but I think that zip line they might need to check it. And of course, thank you all for your attendance.